So this is Overseas Citizen of India card, and this shows visa type lifelong, which means this never expires. I'll talk about this little in detail as we proceed with the video. So if you were Indian or your parents were of Indian origin, if your grandparents were of Indian origin, then you can apply for this OCI card. Also, if you are a spouse of Indian origin, in that case, you can apply for OCI card, but only after 2 years of marriage. You go through an interview process. Once you go through with the interview process, then you apply for this OCI card. Once you have acquired citizenship of any other country, you cannot hold your India passport. India does not allow dual citizenship. So you have to surrender your India passport and get a surrender certificate. So basically, once you surrender, the India passport gets punched as cancelled and you get a certificate saying the passport has been cancelled. Now, if you have to travel to India, you have few options. You can go on e-visa, which is a short-term visa. X1 visa is a little longer term, but both have their own restriction. You have to leave India within certain time. So when you have this OCI card with you, just with your OCI card and your current valid passport, you can travel to India anytime. If you think now, you can just jump, take a flight and go to India, stay as long as you want, stay forever. My daughter, who was born in Canada, Canadian citizen, she got by virtue of I being an Indian origin father. So that's how I explain this parent, grandparent part. That's how this OCI card is given. Now, why it says lifelong? When it is minor, say my daughter was born and who got OCI, when she turns 20 years, she will have to again renew this OCI card because the facial feature would have changed. Now, daughter would be adult, and at that point, this reissue happens. Earlier, there was a requirement of getting this reissued at the age of 50. Now, that is no more there. In case you lose this OCI card, if it is damaged, in that case, you go for reissue. Otherwise, you just update the information directly at the government website. I made a video. For example, your passport has expired and you get a new passport. In that case, you just go and update this information on the government portal about your new passport. If your address has changed, you go and update that on the government portal and then you're good. Now, when you're going to the airport, sometimes these airport agents will not have the update what is there on the OCI card because the OCI card also has mention of your foreign passport. So, carry your old passport also when you're going with the OCI card. That way, you don't have to have any issues when you're traveling to India. I've made a long list which I wanted to share with you, and I'll start with the process of applying. First thing is you have to surrender your India passport. This takes about 4 to 6 weeks if you're doing from the country where you got your citizenship. If you're doing this in India, then it takes 1 or 2 days and it is less expensive than how it is if you're applying from any other part of the world. Now, remember, your situation could differ. So, do check out various scenarios under which you can do that from India, or it is better to do where you are to surrender the passport. Once the passport surrender is done, now there is a mandatory requirement of declaration that your voter ID and ration card has been cancelled. In case you had not done this before, when you're going for renewal, you need to have. So please make sure you get both of these things done. I have made a video on how this can be done online. Some of the individuals have been struggling and how they are doing. That is also shared, so you can check that out. Once you have this declaration with you, you fill up your OCI application, and after you submit, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for you to get this OCI card. And once you have, you're all set to travel to India anytime, live forever in India for however long you want. So as I said, it has a lifelong validity, but in certain cases, like when the minor turns to 20 years, this has to be renewed, that is reissued. And if you have lost or damaged the card, in that case, you have to go through reissue. Otherwise, you have to update on the portal whenever you have your passport change. The old passport expires, you got a new passport, you go and update that on the website. And if your address has changed, you update that on the website. When you're going to the airport, make sure you carry the old one also along with you, the passport, so that you don't get troubled at the airport counter. Only in certain cases, the OCI can be cancelled. I hope you never get into that. Now, you have to remember that this is not a right, this is a privilege. So, you have to treat OCI card with utmost respect. You have various information available online when the OCI card have been cancelled. Now, if you could tell me some of the actors, some of the sports personalities who are OCI card holder in the comment section, that will be helpful for others. And I was trying to make this video, I learned about many of the actors and sport person who are OCI card holder, which I even was not aware. So do comment and let me know in the comment section. When you have change of citizenship, your Aadhaar card does not get cancelled. If you already have a Aadhaar card, that continues. Your PAN card does not change. It continues. Your bank account, I hope you are not keeping your bank account as the savings and current account. You cannot have. Once you are an NRI, you have to change that to NRE and NRO account. So I made a detailed video on how those conversions are done. And when you have a change of citizenship, what I did was I went to the bank and I told that my citizenship has changed, and they asked for the, in Canada we have social insurance number. In US it's called SSN. They said you could either give this or you can give a copy of your passport. So I handed over the passport copy and they updated all the record. So on that front, I made sure that I'm complying with what is required. In case you don't have an Aadhaar, then you need to spend at least 182 days physically in India before you get that. The next question is, working in India as a OCI card holder, you have the same privilege what any Indian has, except you cannot vote, you cannot join government offices, and certain activities you cannot undertake while you are on OCI. And I'll share those details in the link. You can check that out for yourself. Now, you also know the reason why some of the OCI cards were cancelled when you go through those reasons. When it comes to work, in private companies, absolute no restriction. Now, the challenge is when you go to this company and you tell that I'm a foreign national and has a OCI, that's going to confuse them. Because you have Aadhaar with you, you have PAN with you, your bank account is active, you just need to go through the normal routine interview and submit whatever document you have. Everything else is taken care. Otherwise, when you go to explain, some of them understand, some of them don't understand. It's going to get complicated for them. Don't make it complex. You have every right to work in India. When I was trying to find more information, I also learned that as a OCI card holder, even premier institutes like IITs and IIMs, they invite OCI card as faculty members. So if you have that question, by now this is answered. There is a professor in IIM Bangalore who is a OCI card holder. That was again updated to me in one of my video comments. You can go and check that out. When it comes to taxes, there is no change in the tax slab. Whatever any Indian would be paying, same thing you would be paying for any earning that is happening in India. For example, you have a bank account, the interest comes to that, on that you will have to pay taxes. If you have any house on rental and the money comes into your Indian bank account, you have to pay taxes on that in India. There is no differential tax system there, you being OCI. Now, when it comes to driving license, your existing Indian driving license, which is valid, you can continue with that. And whenever that has to come up for renewal, you submit all the required document and you can renew it. If you don't have a driving license, in that case, you have to go through the learner's license and then driving license. by submitting your OCI card and other documents. And once that is done, you can have. Now, if you don't want that, you have an option of international driving license. So, if you're traveling from your country, you just go and get an extract. They give you an international driving license. With that, you can drive in India as a foreigner. If you're thinking of starting a business, you can absolutely start business as a 100% owner. As I said, there is no differentiation here. And as long as you are on the right side of the law, you will be able to start business without any issues. Just consult any good chartered accountant. They will be able to guide on this. When it comes to medical insurance, I'll talk about my own personal experience. My daughter, who is a Canadian born, in my insurance, I had got her added and I had submitted her OCI card and her passport details. And this insurance, I will not name the insurance, but it's a nationalized general insurance. There are only 4 nationalized general insurance. Once I submitted that, and the medical insurance had her name, when we traveled to India 2 times, both times she had to be hospitalized and insurance took care of everything. So I hope that answers your question. When it comes to agricultural land, you cannot buy agricultural land. In fact, as a non-resident Indian, you cannot buy agricultural land, but you can inherit the agricultural land. What is inheritance? It is from your parents when they are no longer alive and it passes on to you. So, even as a foreigner, when you don't have OCI, you can inherit. The only complex problem comes in is that you will not have bank account in India, and for you to do the transaction, that's going to be a lot of back and forth. Just consult a good chartered accountant. I have no suggestions. Once you do little research, you reach out locally to your known folks, you will get some answers there, but you can inherit without any issues. If you're looking for commercial or residential properties, absolutely there is no issue. You can buy that. And if you're trying to sell the agricultural land, in that case, just consult with a good chartered accountant because there are some RBI norms which you need to be aware of. Selling them usually requires prior RBI approval that the person will be able to guide you. When you go to any of the Indian museums, you go to railways, you are not treated as foreigners. You pay what Indians pay. There is no difference in what you pay as the fee. So, if you have any earning in India, you have to file taxes. I do that every year and keep yourself compliant with the law. That is a good thing to do. And you will have to file taxes if you have any earning in India. As a spouse, you go through a separation. If spouse is getting separated, the government of India issues OCI on basis of marriage and as long as the marriage subsists. So you get the answer here. You will have to update to the ministry on change of status and then you have to wait for the decision. The best part about having OCI is that you don't have to report to police station. If anyone is traveling long term on visa, in that case, they have to report to police station or FRRO. In this case, with OCI, you don't have to do that. In fact, this earlier was required, but few years back, this was waived off. So you are as good as Indians. You go land and after that, you are in India at your own without any issues. Now, one important question which comes to mind is, can I get India citizenship back? The answer is yes. I made a detailed video on what are the steps. You need to be a OCI for certain amount of period. You need to spend certain time in India and after which you can go through the process and how much that process takes. I made a detailed video on that. So you can check that out. When it comes to surrogacy, you can see this page. I'll leave the link in the description so that you can go through and then do your due diligence when it comes to surrogacy. When it comes to adoption, CARA is the agency in India and you can see here they have OCI foreigners living in India, NRI OCI foreigners living abroad. So you can go through their webpage and get more information on this. If you look at this regulation 15, non-resident Indian and overseas citizen of India card holder, prospective adoptive parent shall be treated at par with Indians living in India in terms of priority for adoption of orphan, abandoned or surrendered children. When child is studying in India, there is no difference between OCI card holder child and Indian child fee structure. It is the same what both will be paying. There is no difference in this case. Can a medical practitioner, that is doctor, practice in India as a OCI card holder? Here, as long as you hold degree and required license, citizenship is not a barrier. And the National Medical Council permits OCI doctors to practice in India as long as they hold proper registration and adhere to the same licensing requirement as Indian citizens. When it comes to practicing privately, example, opening clinic, this is allowed once registration and licensing are in place. You just cannot be going and doing that. That for matter any country, it is the norm. If the doctor earned their degree outside India, they must clear the foreign medical graduate examination or next exam. And once that is done, they go ahead with the registration. If you are a foreign lawyer, in that case, your foreign LLB with the Bar Council of India recognition plus your AIBE and then enrollment. Once you complete this, you can practice in Indian court. Otherwise, as a foreign lawyer, you cannot practice in Indian court. And I'll leave the link for some of the references for you to go and check this in detail. I hope you got some clarity on what this OCI card is. I have shared some of my experiences, some of the experience from those who have gone to India and living there. So that way you are now more aware of what the OCI card is. Hopefully this was of help. Do check out other videos. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel as I keep updating the information which will be relevant to you. And thanks for watching.